Last summer, 4 tomato plants in one raised bed gave me 90 pounds of fruit. The year before that, same bed, same seeds. Same sun, barely 30 pounds. So what changed? One thing, just one. How I watered them. And here's what's going to surprise you. The mistake destroying your tomato harvest right now isn't overwatering. It isn't underwatering. Either, it's something almost nobody talks about. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you're watering your tomatoes a little bit, every single day, the way your dad did, the way your neighbor still does, you think you're being responsible? You're not. You're slowly starving the roots. You're setting up cracked skins, blossom and rot, yellowing leaves, before you even see the symptoms. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I water my tomatoes now. The depth, the timing, the rhythm that turns an average plant into a producer. And stick around, because at the end, I'm sharing a buried bottle trick from an old market gardener. It waters your deep roots while you sleep and costs almost nothing. Let's fix this. Here's the part nobody tells you when you start growing tomatoes. A mature tomato plant, grown the right way, can send its roots down 2 to 3 feet into the soil. That's not a houseplant. That's a deep-rooted, drought-tough fruiting plant that evolved in the dry valleys of South America. Its entire root system is built to hunt for water deep underground. But most of us never let that happen. Think about the way you were probably taught to water. Every evening, after dinner, you grab the hose. You give each plant a nice little splash. The leaves look green. The top of the soil looks dark and damp. You feel like a responsible plant parent, and you walk away satisfied. Here's the problem. That little splash never makes it deep. It sits in the top 2 or 3 inches of soil, and then it's gone by morning. And the roots, they're smart. They don't waste energy reaching for water that isn't there. So they stay right where the moisture is shallow, right near the surface. Over time, you're not growing a deep-rooted, resilient plant. You're training a shallow, fragile one. And shallow roots create a very specific kind of chaos. They can't regulate water the way deep roots can. They can't pull calcium efficiently from the soil, and they dry out almost the moment the sun hits them. So your plant ends up on a roller coaster soaking wet at 6 in the evening, bone dry by noon the next day. Wet, dry, wet, dry. That swing, that's the real killer. Not too much water, not too little. The swing itself. Let me connect this to 2 problems you've probably seen with your own eyes. Blossom end rot, that ugly, sunken black patch on the bottom of your tomato. Most people think it's a calcium deficiency in the soil. It's usually not. It's a calcium delivery problem caused by inconsistent moisture. Calcium can only travel through the plant dissolved in water. If the water supply keeps stopping and starting, the calcium simply can't keep up. And cracked tomatoes, same root cause, different symptom. The fruit grows slowly during a dry stretch. Then the plant gets a sudden, heavy drink, and the fruit swells faster than the skin can stretch. So it splits right open. Neither of these is bad luck. Neither of these is a bad variety. They're both downstream symptoms of one upstream cause: shallow, inconsistent watering. Now, here's where I want you to breathe for a second, because I know this might sting a little. If this sounds exactly like what you've been doing, you are not failing. You are doing what almost every home gardener does. Nobody sat you down and explained the deeper logic of how a tomato actually drinks. I didn't know this either for almost 15 years. But once you understand this one mechanism, shallow roots, inconsistent moisture, calcium and swelling problems, every fix that follows will make perfect sense to you. So let's change how your roots grow. Let's send them deep, where they belong. Because in the next section, I'm going to show you exactly how to water so that your tomato plant stops chasing moisture at the surface and starts drinking like the deep-rooted plant it was always meant to be. So now you know the problem. Shallow watering builds shallow roots. Here's exactly how to fix it. Starting today, Step 1. Stop guessing. Start checking. The biggest mistake gardeners make isn't even about how much water they give. It's that they never actually check the soil before they water. They just water because it's evening, or because it's been a day, or because that's the habit. Here's the tool you already own that fixes this: your finger. Stick your index finger straight down into the soil, about 2 inches away from the main stem. Push it in as deep as it will go, ideally up to your second knuckle, roughly 3 to 4 inches down. If it feels cool and slightly damp, like a wrung-out sponge, leave it alone. Your plant is fine. If it feels dry and crumbly all the way down, it's time to water. And if it feels soggy, and you can actually squeeze water out of it, you've overdone it. Back off for a day or two. If you're growing in a container or a small raised bed, there's an even simpler trick. Lift it. A well-watered container is heavy. A dry one feels noticeably light. Do this for about a week, and something interesting happens. You stop watering on a calendar, and you start watering on a condition. The schedule becomes a reminder to check, not a command to soak. Now the part that changes everything: once your finger tells you it's time, stop watering a little. Start watering a lot. Less often. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. For a mature tomato plant in the middle of summer, you're looking at somewhere between 1 and 2 gallons of water per plant delivered slowly. Right at the base, roughly every 3 to 5 days. Not a splash every evening. A deep, deliberate soak. 2 or 3 times a week. Here's why the depth matters so much. When you pour a full gallon slowly at the base of the plant, that water has time to travel 12 to 18 inches down into the soil. The deep roots finally get a real drink. And a day or two later, when the surface dries out, the roots have no choice but to chase the moisture downward, which is exactly what makes them deeper, stronger, and far more resilient. You're not just watering the plant. You're training it to be drought-tough instead of drought-fragile. In practice, here's how simple this is. Take a regular garden hose. Turn off the nozzle. Set it to a slow trickle and lay it right at the base of the plant. Let it run for about 2 to 3 minutes per plant. Then move to the next one. If you already have a soaker hose or drip line, even better, just make sure the water is landing on the soil, not the leaves. That last point matters more than people realize. Wet leaves invite fungal disease, especially early blight and septoria leaf spot, and those can take down a healthy tomato plant in a matter of weeks during a humid July. Water the dirt, not the plant. And one more small detail that makes a real difference: water in the morning, ideally between 6 and 9 a.m. The soil has time to absorb it before the heat of the day arrives. Any splashed leaves dry off quickly, and your plant heads into the hottest hours already hydrated instead of playing catch-up. Check the soil. Water deep. Water at the base. Water in the morning. Get those 4 habits right, and you've already solved most of the problem. But there's one more piece that makes this whole system dramatically more effective, and it's sitting in your yard waste bin right now. That yard waste I mentioned. It's about to become the single highest leverage move you make all season. Once your tomato plants are about a foot tall and the soil has warmed up, lay down 2 to 3 inches of organic mulch over the entire root zone. Straw works. Shredded leaves work. Dried grass clippings work beautifully too. Keep it about 2 inches away from the main stem itself. You don't want moisture trapped against the bark. Or you invite stem rot. But everywhere else, cover it generously. Here's what that thin layer actually does. It cuts evaporation from the soil surface by as much as 70%. It keeps your root zone 15 to 20 degrees cooler on brutally hot days, which matters enormously if you're gardening in a warmer zone. where summer soil can get punishing. It suppresses weeds without you lifting a finger, and as it slowly breaks down, it feeds the soil biology that helps your tomato pull nutrients more efficiently. I've grown tomatoes with mulch and without it, side by side. Same season. The mulched plants needed roughly half the water and produced noticeably more fruit. It wasn't close. One caution, though, if you're in a cooler climate, don't rush this. Wait until your soil has warmed to at least 60 degrees before you mulch. Otherwise, you're insulating cold soil and slowing your plant right down. If you're in a warmer zone, the opposite applies. The sooner you mulch after transplanting, the better. Now, here's something almost nobody mentions. Your watering rhythm isn't supposed to stay the same all season. What works in early June will absolutely fail you by late July. In the first few weeks after transplanting, your tomato has a small, shallow root system. It simply cannot reach deep soil yet. So during that early window, water more frequently every 2 to 3 days, but keep it moderate. Around half a gallon per plant. You're not soaking a mature plant yet. You're helping a young one establish. As the plant grows and the roots stretch downward, you stretch out the time between waterings to match. By peak summer, with a fully grown, fruit-loaded plant, you're typically on that 3 to 5 day rhythm we talked about, with 1 to 2 gallons each time. If the temperature climbs above 90 degrees for several days in a row, you might tighten that up to every 2 days, but keep the volume high. Whatever you do, don't slide back into daily little sips. That undoes everything you've built. And here's a rule that will save you more tomatoes than almost anything else if you get a heavy rain. Skip your next scheduled watering entirely. Check with the finger test before you touch the hose again. More tomato plants are ruined by gardeners watering right on top of a recent rain than by any drought. One more seasonal shift. And this one surprises people. As fruit starts ripening in late summer, some experienced growers actually pull back just slightly on water. Less water concentrates the sugars in the fruit and intensifies flavor, just enough to keep the plant from wilting. No more. The tomatoes come out richer, denser, sweeter. But be careful here, this is a gentle pullback, not a dramatic one. Swing too far in either direction, and you're right back to the cracking problem we started with. Steady, and slightly less. That's the goal. Not feast, then famine. Get your rhythm right. Adjust it as the season shifts, and mulch heavily, and you've built a system that basically runs itself. But there's one more thing your plant is trying to tell you every single day. If you know how to listen, here's something remarkable about tomato plants. They'll actually tell you what they need. You just have to know how to read them. A healthy, properly watered tomato plant has firm, dark green leaves that stand up nicely in the morning. A mild afternoon droop on a scorching day. Completely normal. The plant is simply conserving water by closing its stomata. As long as it perks back up by evening, leave it alone. Don't touch the hose. What you actually want to watch for is morning wilt. If the leaves are limp at 7 in the morning, when the soil should be at its coolest and most hydrated point of the day, that's your plant telling you it ran out of water overnight. Time to soak it deeply. On the flip side, if you see the lower leaves yellowing from the bottom up, while the soil underneath stays consistently wet, that's overwatering. Back off. Let things dry out for a couple of days before you touch that hose again. And curling leaves, the kind that roll up like little tubes, that can mean heat stress. It can also mean uneven watering. Before you panic, check your soil moisture first. The answer is usually right there. Now, let's talk about the 4 patterns I see in almost every backyard garden I visit, because chances are you've done at least one of these yourself. I certainly have. Pattern 1, the daily evening sprinkle. You get home from work. Grab the hose. Give every plant a quick little drink. It feels caring. It feels responsible, but it's keeping your roots shallow and building that wet-dry swing we talked about earlier. The fix water deeply, 2 or 3 times a week. And trust that your plant has reserves between drinks. Pattern 2 overhead watering. Esprinkler. A spray wand. Whatever's easiest. The leaves get soaked. The fruit gets soaked. And within a couple of weeks, every fungal disease in the neighborhood has moved in. The fix is simple. Keep the water at the soil line. Every single time. If you already run a sprinkler system, at least switch it to early morning so leaves dry fast. But honestly, a soaker hose is the better long-term answer. Pattern 3, watering on a fixed schedule. No matter what. Tuesday and Friday. Rain or shine. Like clockwork. Here's the problem. Your tomato doesn't check a calendar. It responds to soil, moisture, and weather. Not the day of the week. The fix is that finger test again. Use your schedule as a reminder to go check. Never as a command to water regardless. Pattern 4, panicking after a dry stretch and drowning the plant to make up for it. That sudden, desperate gulp, after several dry days, is exactly what triggers cracking and blossom end rot. The fix is consistency. If you fall behind, water deeply but not desperately, and get back on rhythm calmly. None of these patterns make you a bad gardener. I did every single one of them. For years. It just means nobody ever explained the deeper logic of how a tomato actually drinks. Now that you can read your plant, and you know exactly what to fix when something looks off, I want to leave you with the trick that ties this whole system together. It's the one thing that made the biggest difference in my own garden. And it cost almost nothing to set up. Alright, this is the part I promised you at the very beginning. And honestly, this one trick... An old market gardener showed me this technique years ago. And I remember thinking, why has nobody told me this sooner? It's called the buried bottle method. Here's exactly how it works. Take an empty plastic jug, a milk jug, a vinegar jug, anything with a screw-on cap. Drill or poke 6 to 8 small holes, about the size of a pencil tip, around the bottom third of the jug. Then bury that jug right next to your tomato plant, about 6 to 8 inches away from the main stem, with just the neck and the cap sticking up an inch or so above the soil. Leave the cap off, or loose. That's it. That's the whole setup. Now, here's what changes. From that point on, whenever it's time to water, you don't run the hose at the base of the plant anymore. You simply fill that jug, and the water seeps out slowly through those holes over several hours, traveling directly down to the deep root zone, exactly where your plant has been trying to reach this whole time. No evaporation sitting on the surface, no runoff sliding away, no wet leaves inviting disease. Just a slow, steady drink, delivered right where the roots live, and it takes about 30 seconds to fill. You walk away, and the jug does the rest of the work for you, even while you sleep. For the big, sprawling, indeterminate varieties, I think Brandywine, Cherokee Purple. I run 2 ukes per plant. For the smaller determinate and patio varieties, 1 jug is plenty. The first season I tried this, my watering time was cut almost in half. I saw far fewer cracked tomatoes. Blossom end rot practically disappeared. And by late summer, the plants were noticeably bigger and healthier than anything I'd grown before. And there's a nice side benefit here too. You're reusing a piece of plastic that would otherwise end up in the recycling bin. Or worse, the trash. Small, thoughtful, nearly free. That's the kind of trick that quietly compounds over an entire season. So here's your homework this week. Grab 1 empty jug from your recycling. Poke the holes. Bury it next to just 1 tomato plant. Try it for 2 weeks, side by side with the rest of your garden. I think you'll be surprised at what you notice. So let's bring this all the way back to where we started. 90 pounds of tomatoes from 4 plants. in one raised bed, and the year before, from the exact same bed, the exact same seeds, the exact same sun, barely 30 pounds. That wasn't luck. That wasn't a special variety. What a secret fertilizer, or some rare stroke of good weather. It was one thing, just one. Water delivered deep, delivered consistently, delivered the way a tomato plant actually needs it to grow the roots it was born to grow. Check your soil before you water. Soak it deeply, right at the base, every 3 to 5 days. Mulch it heavily. Watch what the leaves are telling you. And bury that jug, let it do the work while you sleep. That's it. That's the whole system. No expensive equipment. No complicated schedule. Just watering with intention. Instead of watering out of habit. Here's what I want you to remember most. If you've been doing the daily little splash, you are not a bad gardener. You just didn't have this piece of the puzzle yet. Now you do. So this week I want you to try it. Pick one plant. Do the finger test. Give it one reel. Deep soak instead of a quick daily sprinkle. And watch what happens over the next 2 weeks. If this video just saved your harvest, or you know it's about to do me a favor, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the one tomato problem that's been driving you crazy this season? I read every single one. And if you know a fellow gardener who's been quietly losing their harvest to this exact mistake, send them this video. Let's fix it together. Water deep. Grow strong. And I'll see you in the next one.